guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So we have made, or we're here for another episode anyway, first of all, using the Gosford green physical kit. And obviously, you know, if you didn't manage to get one of those, again, obviously I'm filming these ahead. I don't know, well, you know, they might all be sat there still left. If you didn't manage to get one though, obviously the digi that goes with the physical kit is available in my shop. And obviously if you didn't want to play along with the Gosford green kit at all, then you could obviously just, you know, follow along by using your own papers and your own choice of materials. So these are the pieces that we've made so far. I'm just going to pop them to one side so they're not in the way. And we're just going to continue really in the same vein, making a few more pieces. So if I just pull in the background pages that we've got, obviously still that we haven't used, and we'll just have a look and see, you know, decide what we might want to make next. So I've got this one here, and for some reason I'm not wanting to use this. Oh, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I just love all this vintage paperwork. It just looks so yummy, but yeah, I can't bring myself to use it. Oh, what is that about? I have no idea, but anyway. Right, I digress. So if we take this one, I'm just thinking what piece we would want to make with this. I'm thinking just a flip out piece really, because obviously we've got this lovely detail here, which would be nice to keep, you know, visible on the piece. So if we had it as a little, as a little folding flip, then we could obviously have that as the flap. I think might be the nice thing to do. So if we just cut this down to the sort of height that we might like it, so probably about there. Just going to cut that down like that. Now I don't know if I need the whole length of this or not, so let's have a look. So let me just pop all this stuff on my lap so it's not in the way. Okay, and if we want this, you know, as the like the lid, you know, rather than, do we want it that way? I quite like it as the flap, I think. So I'm just going to fold it down here in the first instance, so I've just got roughly where that flap's going to be, like that, and then we'll just gauge roughly how big we want the other piece to be, so probably about there. So I'm just going to fold it in the reverse way first, and then we'll fold it round, and then what you want to do is just cut it down so it's, you know, making a good size sort of flippy fold outy piece like that, and that's it. And then obviously you might want to make a closure, or you could make this into a little sort of pad. Let me just trim this bit down. Oops, flicking it all over the desk. Right, so you might want to make a closure, or you might want to add some extra pages for you know, like a little flippy pad or something like that. So I think what we'll do, I'll just open it up again. I might just have a few little pages in there, just like a little sort of pad. So if we have those, and then I'll just trim those down at one side because they're a little bit wide. I mean, they fit perfectly, but it would be tight then when you're, you know, closing the piece up. And then I'm just going to pop my pieces onto the floor beside me and pull in, just from my stash, she says, and now I can't find any, just some blank coffee dyed paper. So hold on 2 moments, guys, while I just grab some from behind me. Oh no, would you believe it? Don't have any there either. Hold on. Sometimes I just come on thinking I'm so organised, and then lo and behold, not organised at all. Right, here we go. So I've got this lined paper, which obviously, you know, this is left over from another project, but it is coffee dyed, and actually colour wise it complements this kit quite well. So I'm just going to use that. You can obviously just use, you know, whatever you can get your hands on, really. Just anything at all. So actually I've just got a little scrap there. So I'll just include that as well. So again, I'll just quickly cut that down. And then I think what I'll do is mix this in, because this is thinner paper than this one. So just so as I've got, you know, not all the same paper next to each other, if that makes sense. So bunch that together. I've got my tiny stapler beside me, so I'll just use my big one. And just staple that in like that. So that's my little pad. Oops. Now I can't shut my drawer. Hold on. Okay, so I'll just tear this down because it's a little bit on the long side. Tear that across there. Then we're just going to glue that across here. I'll use my 3-in-1. I'm pretty sure that, you know, my normal tacky glue is fine, but you know, this obviously has a reputation of being super strong and really good. So as I've got the metal staples there, we'll just use that there. Oops. Trying not to get the threads everywhere, always a challenge for me. There we go. We'll just glue that down. Now, because obviously this is going to be, you know, or I'm planning on this being glued in, I don't want to bulk it out too much, because ordinarily on those little flippy pads I like to kind of put lace across the top. But I'm trying not to bulk this out quite so much. So I might just take a little strip of that wallpaper and pop that over the top of those staples instead, because you know, obviously the paper is going to bulk that out less than a piece of lace would. So if I just kind of take that roughly the size, and then I'm just going to cut that down. Ridiculous. Do I want to keep that? Oh, I'm going to be good and just bin that, because why would I even contemplate keeping that? Again, I mean, anyone who didn't make journals would just kind of stumble across that part of the video and just think, what is that woman thinking? Why would she even contemplate, do I keep that that, you know, centimetre square piece of paper? What is wrong with us? Well, I don't know whether it's wrong with all of us. What's wrong with me anyway? But let's just glue this piece down. And again, I'll just use that, you know, 3-in-1, because then that's nice and strong and hopefully pretty quick too. So there we go. I mean, obviously you don't have to finish that off with anything. You could have just left that with the staples. I mean, I just think it looks prettier now, having some sort of header to it, really. So that's that. I'm just going to round my corners here of the sort of flap section, like that. Ugh, made a hideous job of that. So I'll just quickly ink up my inside, and actually, in hindsight, I should have obviously inked up before gluing that pad in, but never mind. You can just kind of go round a bit now. No, look, still haven't changed my sponge. I said, didn't I, that I must change my sponge before the next video. What happens is, obviously, I'm filming right up until I need to do something else, you know, maybe go to the school or whatever. And then it's a case of, oh, quick, you know, stop, maybe go and plug it in to charge, get it uploading, and then obviously forget completely to do anything else. So, yeah, hence still haven't changed the sponge, but never mind. Right, I'm just going to check that I'm filming, that I'm in frame. Oh, just, you get these horrible feelings and suddenly think, oh, I might not even be filming. I just sat here talking to myself again. Not even Not even filming at all. Now, do we want to have any sort of label or anything on here, or maybe as a kind of closure for that, or do we want to have string? Obviously we've got the string that was binding the kit closed, and obviously I do love my string, so you know, for me I always really like to use string. I am aware that not everybody likes string as much as I do. Let's have a look and see how that looks. Oh, I'm not going to use the string. I'm going to ink this up. We'll use the label as the stopper. I'm just going to pop that there, hold it down for a minute while I just check whether we want to have like maybe some doily or anything. I'll just tear a bit of that down. I mean, these rectangular doilies, they're brilliant because they really go a long way, you know, which is why I didn't bind it this time in, because I thought actually, you know, they're really useful because they do sort of stretch a long way. So yeah, again, I mean, obviously I'm just merely giving suggestions, and if you've bought the physical kits, I'm not for any minute suggesting that you have to make your journal the same as I'm making mine, but yeah, I mean, it's up to you obviously if you want to bind your rectangular doily in, but just actually, you know, it goes quite a long way for your decorative pieces because it's obviously quite a big doily. Okay, so that's that piece, and then I like to just pop this on here. Just decide which way around we're going to have that. And I'm kind of, no, I was looking at that way, but actually I prefer this way, I think. So I'm just going to open that up and then run my glue down, you know, whilst it's next to the flap, because then I know roughly where to put my glue. So I'll just glue that down like that. Okie dokie. And obviously, you know, you've got a bit of maneuverability, you know, depending on the glue that you're using. That tacky glue is pretty good because although it's, you know, I would say quite a fast drying glue, it's not so fast drying that you literally are stuck and can't move your piece again. You know, so for me it's quite a good one from that perspective. Now I can't remember, did I even ink this on the outside? Don't think I did. So we'll just ink this around. Now I'm planning on gluing this down, so I'm not going to ink the back of it, just going to ink the front like that. Okay, and then what we might do is just have a little butterfly, because obviously that then ties that in with the other piece. So I'll just pop that butterfly down there like that. Okay, so that's another piece done. Obviously this is kind of like, oh gosh, I've got no lace anywhere. But that's fine, because obviously we might pop some lace on the page where it sits. We could put some lace on that page. So, you know, have no fear, lace will appear. Oh, have no fear, lace will appear. No, it's going to be somewhere on that page. I can pretty much guarantee we'll have lace somewhere on the page. Okay, so that's that one. Pop that down. So that's another piece done. Now I'll just pull my pieces and my pages back in again. So obviously we've got you know, the remainder from that, so we might do something with that. Oh, we've got this background page, which, oh, why am I not wanting to use that? It's just so crazy. Oh, what is wrong with me? Oh, I'm sure I'm not the, you know, the only person who does this, but it's just madness, isn't it? Right, what I think is use this plain black one from plain green one for a minute, and make, I think, a coin envelope. Should we do that? I'm just wondering if we did it that way round. Obviously the stripes are then like that, but that way we get kind of quite a bit from the piece of paper, which would be quite good. So let's sort of cut it down about here. Do I want to do that? I'm just before I cut into it, I just want to just make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Oh, too late, I'm cutting into it now. See, sometimes I shouldn't even have my hands on the scissors, because what happens is, even as I'm thinking it through, my hands are saying yes and they're cutting. So yeah, I should really keep them just well out of the way, to be honest. Right, so we're just going to make our little coin envelope like that. Obviously, again, I mean, if you follow my videos, you've seen me make these in the mass making. I'm not saying that my way is the correct way. Obviously, you know, you might have your own way of making them. This way, you know, this way seems to work for me. So I like to fold it so that these pieces just meet here, and they're going to overlap slightly so you've got some to glue it down. And then I just cut my corners off like that, cut my what would you call this, bottom bit, where it's going to be hidden basically by this section, which is going to be my fold up flap then. So, you know, you don't have to then worry at all about cutting those bits straight or matching or anything else, because they're all hidden under there like that. There we go, and that's it. That's a coin envelope, which, you know, how easy is that? So do we want a thumb hole in there? I do always like a thumb hole, I must admit. Now, the next question, do we want a thumb hole just at the front, or do we want it front and back? Tricky. Front and back? No, I think just the front, actually. So what I'm going to do, and lots of people have said to me, oh, if you turn the punch over, and you're so right, obviously I can see them where I'm punching. I probably still am going to get this off centre, but if I do, I do. It's not the end of the world. Okay. So now I'm going to just glue my policy envelope, not policy envelope, sorry, my coin envelope. I'm just going to glue it down all together like that. And I just like to glue like the inside of the inside flap, and then the outside of the outside, if that makes sense, because that way you should get both of the edges kind of glued down nicely. So we just glue that down, stick that down like that. Okie dokie. Just hold that in place for a couple of minutes. I'm sure they have changed the recipe of this. I'm sure that they have. Right, okay. So now you just want to ink up your piece. Again, I should have probably inked up here beforehand, because then I would have been able to ink, you know, where you can see in the thumb hole a lot easier than I can once it's been stuck down. But never mind, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. So that's that piece, and then obviously we will decorate that up. So we've got these lovely birds, which I don't think we've used the birds yet. Now, got some wallpaper obviously left over. Could put some down there, or we could have some running down the side. It's quite pretty, isn't it? Let me just pull in some some book page. Well, that's quite nice, isn't it? Okay, so let's just tear this like that. I'm going to have that there, that there. So just glue this one down. Like that. I know I've said it before, but oh, I just love this colour green. It's just really a nice colour. And weirdly, actually, I don't like British Racing Green. That I don't like that. I don't know whether that's kind of a thing other than on cars, weirdly enough. But yeah, I don't like that shade of green. But for some reason, for me, this shade, really nice. So I don't know quite, you know, what that's about. Just kind of thinking I'm going to tear that down like that, I think. Right, let me get rid of some of this bit, which is like the, would you call that the core of the paper? They used to do those paper packs, didn't they, that had like the core visible. So I think that's what you'd call that, the core of the paper. Do we want it like that, or do we want it? Oh, actually, I'm thinking maybe you might prefer it like this. Yeah, might prefer it like that. We could always have some lace, like just there. And that's quite nice, isn't it? So let's just tear that and glue this piece down. And actually, I should have inked this before gluing it, really, but never mind. I'll glue that piece there. Like that. Oh, it was really chilly this morning. Again, I'm filming ahead, so, you know, it might not be so cold, or it could be really, really cold by now. I think it was like 3 degrees when I took my daughter to school. It was really, really, really cold. Shall we have a bit of doily on there as well? No, don't like that, I don't think. So let me just pull in a couple of the flowers. I just think everything always looks really pretty when you finish it off with some flowers, doesn't it? So maybe up there, I think, or maybe this flower actually. Maybe a smaller piece of doily. Yeah, okay, so I like it like that. Did I ink this up in the end? Obviously going mad. I can't even remember what I've done literally 2 minutes ago. Okay. Oh, I've been having problems again with uploading and what have you. I mean, I have to say sometimes, you know, they muck about and they put these updates on stuff. So I don't know whether it might be an update with YouTube actually at the moment. I mean, obviously they're playing around because they've got that YouTube Studio beta thing, haven't they? Which some of the features seem really great. Some seem appallingly slow. But yeah, it's having lots of problems for the last few days actually, that I'm kind of doing things on a video, you know, typing in the description and things like that. And obviously it takes quite a while by the time you've typed in the description, typed in the title and everything, maybe add it to a playlist and stuff. And then for some reason, when I then go to save it, it just sits there whirring, and then it just comes back saying, unable to save the changes, you know. Do you want to retry? Say retry. And you might retry like 5 times and then it never does save the changes. So yeah, I don't know whether that's something that's happening to me or whether that's just something that's happening generally, but it's really annoying. And as I say, sometimes I just find that, you know, these software updates and, you know, website updates and what have you, I mean, I guess they probably need to do them to be keeping up with technology and other things, but it can be so annoying, can't it? Because it just then stops your stuff from working. You know, and you're used to it working in one way and suddenly then it's just not working at all. Which, you know, that's irritating, isn't it? Right, I just glue that piece of lace on down the bottom. Now you see, titchy scrap. Now I could have binned that and, you know, it's just ideal for there. So glad I didn't. And then, of course, it wouldn't be the same without a bit of bling, which, again, because we had no lace on that last piece, we didn't have any bling. So this would be like a blingless video if we didn't have it somewhere, wouldn't it? Which we can't have a blingless video. That would just be awful. Right, just pop that there. Oops. Okay. Okay, getting it stuck all over myself, but I mind. Oh, come on. Okay. I know I keep on saying okay, and then I move my hands and it's still stuck on me, but hoping eventually it will be okay. So let me just re-stick this because that book page wasn't stuck down. Again, you see, I'm convinced they've changed that glue because that glue was really brilliant before. Where now, I mean, that's been a few minutes and still that doesn't really appear to be stuck down. Oh dear. What is it all about? Right, there we go. So that's our little coin envelope. Get the terminology right, not a policy envelope, as I nearly went to say again. So we'll pop that down to one side. I've also got, you know, an envelope. So we could do that. Now, let me just have a look, because I think I've got a sort of quite a large journaling card. So let me just have a look here. Well, I've got a choice of a couple actually, so just move this stuff out the way. Just cut that down. And again, just cut it down that way as well. And there. Okay. So could either use this one, or I'm thinking that one with the butterflies. So we'll just have a look and see which looks better. Or that one with the butterflies, actually. No, I like the green. Let's go with the green. Okay. So, again, let's just pull in some of the sheet music, I think, to back this on. Like that. Okay, so I'll pop it, I think, about there. Yeah, so let's just glue that down here. Oops. Like that. Okay. Like that, and then I'm going to chop it down kind of that side and then this side as well. So just chop it along here. And again, I mean, it's up to you really whether you cut it or tear it. Oddly, I do normally tear. I don't know quite why I chose to cut that, but for some reason that's just how it was, and yeah, I just cut it without really even thinking about why I was doing that. But anyway, that's fine. I'll just chop that down to hopefully have it sort of a good size. Okay, so we just pop that on that envelope. Now, do we want either some doily kind of coming out behind it, or even kind of like over it, to be honest? Because obviously the automatic thing, I don't know about you guys, but for me is to put it behind. But it might be nice to actually have it, you know, on top. Now, I'm going to have this, I think, this way round, because I'm just aware that a few pieces that I've done have been facing the other way. And so I might, after this one, pull in the journal and just see what we've got so far, because it might be that so far most things that I've made have been, you know, to go on a certain side of the page, if that makes sense. So it might be worth just checking the situation out. So just ink that like that, and I'm just going to ink the envelope now. Obviously this is a sort of buff coloured, or you know, craft coloured envelope, so I mean the ink is not particularly showing up that much, but just a little bit. I don't know whether it would be better to go around it actually with my ink pad. My ink pad's quite dry. I've got, for some reason I seem to have about 3 on the go now, but they're all now quite dry. There we go. Right, and actually I'm just going to ink this side, because I think I'm going to just paper clip this in rather than glue it in, or I might just glue it opening at the side. I haven't quite decided yet, but one of those. So, you know, it may be that the actual envelope itself is quite visible. So I will just ink it all like that, and I'll ink the flap a bit as well. As I say, I mean, this isn't showing up hugely because it is a coloured envelope anyway, but there we go. I wanted it that way, didn't I? Couldn't even remember then what way round I'd said. Right, so I think maybe like that rather than underneath would be nice. Now I'm going to stamp some corners. Obviously I am aware that that's not something that's included in the kit, you know, so obviously, you know, you may or you may not have stamps to be able to stamp your corners of your envelope. I'm just having a look to see a good corner stamp. I thought I had my tiny one here, and now I can't see it. Right. It's not there. Oh, come on. Ah, here we go. Right, so I'm just going to stamp with my tiny corner stamp. So yeah, I mean, I do realise that the stamps, you know, there's something extra that's not included in the kit and that you might not have. But I mean, you can do other things. You could, you know, you could do some faux stitching around your envelope. You could, you know, put some stickers down maybe if you've got some in your stash and supplies. I mean, you maybe could manage to doodle something. I don't know. I don't think I would be able to, but certainly, you know, there's lots of creative people out there who could do things like that. Yeah, so I just, you know, I do want to point out that obviously I'm aware that those stamps aren't included in the kit, but, you know, I guess really you're buying the basic kit, and so anything that you wish to do with it, you know, that's all kind of an individual thing, isn't it? So and obviously it will depend on what you have got in your supplies as to, you know, whether you will be stamping and things like that, I suppose. Right, so I'm just going to pop that down like that. Again, just get my dry dried out wet wipe, stick that down. Okie dokie. And then I'm just going to get my doily. And obviously that doily is kind of effectively covering up that corner anyway, although I am just going to tear that piece off, I think, like that. I just have it more at an angle like that, I think. So again, I'm just going to commit to that and glue it down. Come on. Okay. So we'll just glue that on like that. Just dab around there. Oops. Covered in the glue now, as I seem to constantly be. Right, just pull in my little fussy cuts. So got those lovely clocks, which I haven't used any of those yet. Could have those. I still haven't used this this tape. I don't know what it is about that tape. I've pulled it in several times now, still haven't used it. Oops. Let's just ink up this clock. Pop the clock on there, I think. I've got some small ladies. Could have a lady. Or we could have butterflies. I always just love butterflies. I just think they look great wherever you put them. They always look good, don't they? Or we could just have a flower or two. So let's just cut out a couple of the flowers. So got those ones which are green, which, yeah, I think I quite like the green ones. Okay. Okey-dokey. And again, I mean, obviously I'm just going to ink this up, so it won't be, you know, too noticeable anywhere where I haven't cut quite right. Once it's inked up, that will all be hidden and all be looking good, hopefully looking good like that. So where do we want that? Like that, maybe like that. And then let's have a bit of lace. Oh, look at that little piece. Talk about scraping the barrel, keeping that one. Even by my standards, that's a tiny piece. Okay, let's have a word on there. Let's have the next word that just happens to be on the sheet. So we'll just go for this, believe. I'll have it like that and bring in a bit of lace. Do we want a little bit of this kind of lace today? Just trying to picture how this is going to look. So if that was kind of hanging off the, or on the side of the envelope, I'd just have it like that. So I've cut that down like that. I'm going to cut the seam off of this again, the header. I know I talk about this all the time, and you know, you've probably heard me say it hundreds of times now, but I mean, sometimes I don't mind that header, but sometimes it seems quite obtrusive, you know, sort of ugly looking. So that was how I was just feeling just then. I felt it looked quite clumsy on there. So I'm just going to now pop the flower down, pop the clock down, like that. And then we'll just pop the lace down the side. So actually I'll just run some lace down here because that's probably quickest. Okay, just mop up the excess glue. Like that. Okay. And then just going to put my little word on there. I just ink that up. Just before I stick it down, I'm just going to see. Oh, I quite like it like that actually. Yay! We're using some of the tape. Now this is actually sticker. So I'm just going to peel it off. But what I'll do, I always do this really with stickers because I just don't trust the, you know, the adhesive of the sticker. So I will actually, you know, reinforce that by gluing it as well as the sticker. So, and then we'll just glue on our little word. Just like that. Okay, so that looks really pretty. And then should we have some bling? I think we've got room for some, so why not? Just pop a bit of bling on up here, I think. Just peel the bit of glue off that was kind of blocking the top of the nozzle. Okay, oops. Covered, I'm covered in glue. Okay, that's it. Pop that down like that. So super pretty, looks really lovely, doesn't it? Okay, gorgeous. Right, now what I'm going to do is pull the journal in so we can kind of see where we are, you know, where we are with regards to what we've been making so far. So I'll pull in all the bits that we've made so far, and then we can just get a better idea really of, you know, what other things and what other types of things that we might like to have. So at this point, I might just go through the journal and kind of tentatively put things, you know, roughly where I think they might go. So the very first piece that we made was this envelope pocket, which we talked about having somewhere on the front. So I'm just going to pop that in there. And then let's just have a look. Might have something like that on the next page. Just sort of deciding what would complement that well. And that's another thing, is obviously then we can kind of gauge what types of colours we might need left. So for instance, that piece, you know, I might not have a piece that I like with that. I mean, I quite like that, but that's the wrong shapes and sizes, if you see what I mean. The colours are great, but the proportions are wrong. So then we know that we need to make something to kind of marry up with this piece here. So, you know, that's quite a sort of useful thing to do, I find. So I'm just going to turn that over. Now this one here, obviously, to me, this is against a flimsy page. So I wouldn't stick an embellishment piece onto the thinner paper. I like to just use the thicker card. So we can just pick something from here, and the great thing is obviously it doesn't really have to match anything because it's just on its own. It's not facing anything. So we could have, for instance, this piece here with the flip out on on that page. So I might just go to the back now, because I like to, you know, mix it up and kind of have things just randomly around. So we've got this large page, large pocket that we made, and obviously I was intending on it going onto a page like that, but I'm thinking I might like it on the inside of the back cover. I think that would look maybe quite nice. What do you guys think? Well, maybe it would be better on a page. Decisions. Oh, perhaps it would be better there, to be honest. So if we had that piece there, we have our coin envelope that we just made. We could have that there, and we could have that opposite maybe this piece, because I think colour-wise they, you know, they look quite nice together. And this was that envelope pocket which we've made, so the pocket's in this side. So that would be quite good. Don't know what to have on here. That's quite nice, facing the wallpaper. We could have this on the inside of the back cover. Yeah, that's quite nice. So if we were to have those two there, let's just see if we've got anything that would be suitable for the centre. We could have those two bits for the centre, which, you know, personally I think they look really good together. Yeah, I think I'll go for those in the centre, and then we'll just flick back through. So then we've got the envelope which we've done here like that. So I'm thinking I might quite like that as an opening out to the side. So we'd glue it on there. So that gives us a bit more of an idea, you know, how the journal's coming together sort of thickness wise, and what types of things we've got now to make. So we need to make something to go, you know, opposite this on this page. So if we just have a look back through our bits and bobs that we've got. I mean, I've got here a journaling card, which is, you know, the same sort of pattern as that. So if I just cut that down. I was thinking it would marry really nicely, but do you know what? I actually think that's too similar. It just looks like the same, you know, like I've got the same piece there, which actually, in hindsight, actually isn't quite as good as I'd hoped. So I'll just cut that down ready for using. We might use that as the journaling card tucked in there, perhaps. So just cut that down. Yeah, I might just use that as a journaling card behind there, maybe. Okay, so let's have another look through. You know, hopefully you can see, I mean, that's why actually this is quite a good thing to do, because you just then can balance out and see what other pieces that you might need. So in here I've got that postcard, which this is a stamped piece. I love using these postcards. I mean, I've had this stamp for yonks, but I absolutely love using them as a pocket on a page. So I'm just going to go through and check, because I think it goes quite nicely here, but I just want to check that I wouldn't prefer to have it anywhere else. I mean, like here, it goes quite nicely here as well, doesn't it? No. Yeah, so we'll go back here, and then, you know, you could just use that literally on its own. And what you could do is, if I just kind of weigh this down, not that that weighed down, obviously, it didn't really work at all, but I'm thinking if I just take another journaling card, just cut this one out, and again, I mean, I've just randomly picked one, and this might not be going to be the right one at all, but let's cut that down. What you can do is kind of layer them up, so you could have this up here, for instance, and then you could have this here as another little pocket. And if you just poked, you know, a bit of doily or something coming out, so just tear that down because it's quite big at the moment. But if you just had a sort of bit of doily there, it just helps to make that a little bit of, you know, more of a cohesive kind of look there. So, you know, I might do something like that on that page rather than actually make individual, you know, an individual piece. I might just go for something like that because to me that looks really nice anyway. So that's that page that's, you know, to me that's kind of done. This page, obviously, as we said, it's a single page, so that's fine. So then we've got 4 pages here that we need to fill, and they aren't, you know, we're not restricted at all because we haven't made anything yet to go on those. So right, so I think we'll have to call it quits now for today because obviously we would be struggling to make anything within 10 minutes. So yeah, so we'll come back on another day and do, you know, these 4 pages. I don't know whether we get them done in one video. That might be ambitious, but you know, anyway, yeah, enough waffling. So hope that you've enjoyed it. Hope that if you've got the physical kit, you've managed to make some really nice pieces as well. And yeah, hopefully you'll join me again. So thanks very much for watching. See you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.